Aloha, welcome to our next section in our government economics class. This is week 5 of the DLP, and we are now in our economics unit, and we are dealing with lesson 1 today. But just think about all the things that we have discussed since the beginning of the year. You have read the Constitution, you have read the Declaration of Independence. We have gone through the Bill of Rights. We've actually gone through all of the amendments to the Constitution. We have studied different parts of the Constitution in depth, including Congress, where you were able to role play a senator. We've discussed the executive branch. We just finished up the judicial branch, and that's what you took your test on recently. And now we get into the idea of economics. And so we're going to end the school year with this discussion, and hopefully some of the information that you get out of this will aid you in your personal life. That's the kind of the goal with this. So we're going to be talking about some biblical principles, and we're going to basically try to figure out what the idea of economics is before we get into the particulars of the different types of economics and dealing with what kind of economy, what type of system we have here in the United States. And just like the political scale, we have liberal to conservative with the moderates in the middle. You basically have a socialistic to a capitalistic idea with all kinds of different variations in the middle. And so we're going to be looking at some of those different variations as we go through this. But first of all, we're going to take and make economics personal. We're going to deal with the personal aspect of economics. Because economics, most of you are thinking, is money. But there's more to it than just that. And it goes into the root of the word. So let's first of all talk about what this is, what economics basically is. And what I want you to understand, it's a science of choice. There are choices that we make in life in dealing with our resources, and in dealing with this, the economics is a study of how people make choices and the consequences of those choices that they make dealing with their resources. So the official definition of this is the study of how people, businesses, and governments allocate their limited resources. Now that's a key phrase, limited resources. All of us are limited in our resources, including governments. The United States right now is trying to do stimulus packages to help the United States people, or the citizens of the United States, to be able to survive this pandemic and the shutdown of America's economy. And they can only go so far because they have limited resources. And a lot of people think, well, I'd like to be Bill Gates or, the guy that owns Amazon. I forget what his name is. But they have limited resources too. There's only certain things that they can do with the stuff that they have been given. And so you have to understand everyone's resources get to a limit. And what they're trying to do in the study of economics is basically how they use their limited resources to satisfy, and here's another key word, unlimited wants and needs. So that's one of the biggest battles in economics in the study of choice, is how do I take these limited resources and meet all my needs and wants? And that is one of the biggest questions that you will face. So let's put it in a nutshell. Choice. Here's your choice. The choice that we are studying, the science of this choice that we are studying in economics. All right? It's your decision, my decision, the government's decision, a business's decision to give up their resources or my resources for a want or need. I make that choice all the time. Okay? And you do too. Your parents do, and I do more than you do because you don't have the responsibilities. You don't have the income that those of us on our level as adults do. But the point is, you still make these same economic choices every single day. But like I said, we have to personalize it first before we can understand it on the bigger scale. So I want you to grasp the idea that economics is the science of choice. It's the study of choice. You notice there's nothing there about money. It's the key word there is not money, it's resources. So what you have to determine right now before we go any farther is what are your resources? And then we're going to personalize it in just a moment. Okay? So your resources. And we're going to be using some scriptures because Before we get into the terminology of economics and all the different terms that we will be using throughout this discussion over the next couple weeks, is you have to understand God talked about economics. God talked about the science of choice or the decisions that we make in Scripture. And we're going to be using those scriptural principles to apply it to us. Okay, so your resources. So the next thing, put this down. And I want you to write these scriptures down because you're going to be using them throughout. So go ahead and start writing this down. So theme. And this is our theme of our study of economics, okay? I wanted you to feel normal here in the classroom because I always have my coffee with me and a lot of talking today. So, theme. All right? Watch out. Wow. That's just kind of, look out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Okay? And you'll notice there it says all kinds of greed. And we'll get to that and kind of conceptualize that in just a moment. A person's life, and this is what you have to understand, and this is one of the biggest battles that you will face dealing with the idea of contentment in your life. A person's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. The more things that you have is not what life is all about. It's not going to make you happier. As a matter of fact, a lot of times the more things that we have, the more of a burden it becomes. For instance, I love to go jet skiing. I absolutely love jet skiing. I love to be on the water. I like to be going fast. And it's just an incredible experience. So someone offered me a jet ski once. And I was thinking about it, you know. It would be fun to have it. We could take it down as a family, go down the bayfront, put it in anytime we wanted. And then as I was talking to them, they basically began to tell me, you know, how much money it would cost and how more time they are trying to fix it because they're temperamental and all this kind of stuff. So they were laying out all the ramifications or all the peripheral things you don't think about when you go in to buy something. And then I realized, you know what? I don't know how to fix it. I don't have the time to fix it. And if it breaks down, it's just going to sit in my yard and it's just going to be a burden and not a blessing. So if I ever want to go jet skiing, it's cheaper for me to rent one from the people who know how to fix them, from the people who insure them, from the people who take care of them, and it's less of a burden to me. So I can pay for that time, go for that time, use it during that time, but I don't have the responsibility and the burden of owning it. It becomes my possession. It's only my possession for that hour that I rented that time. And it takes the burden of responsibility off just during that time. For that hour that I have it, I can use it. If it breaks, they have the responsibility to fix it. And a lot of times, you know, people collect cars. People say, if I have this, if I have that, and if I have these clothes, and you go in your closet and they got all these things hanging in there, and they've really, really never, we're given happiness by having all these things. It just creates more of a burden. So your life is not made up about possessions. Okay? So what is it? What is the essence of your life? What will make you happy? Well, that's one of the greatest questions that you will ask yourself in your life. But first of all, let's deal with this economics. Watch out, okay? Be on your guard against all type of greed. So this is our theme for this section. A person's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Second thing, and make sure you write this down too, then you will get what you have prepared yourself for. Now, this is something that we will be talking about throughout. Okay? How we prepare ourselves to get. Okay? So, let's go back to the idea. So, these are our two theme verses, and we'll be going back and forth to them in just a little while. But your resources. What are your resources that you possess right now? You have resources. I have resources. And then this is what we're going to focus on today, and then we'll get to the next part of this starting in our next lesson, hopefully tomorrow. So let's put down what our resources are, okay? And what I want you to do is take a couple, just like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right now, and write down what you think your resources are. Okay? Here you go. Ready? Go. What are your resources? What do you possess right now that's considered a resource? And you're probably having a hard time thinking because I'm still talking. And probably you're not writing anything down. Maybe some of you are. So let's look at that. What was the number one thing that you put as far as your resource? This is probably going to shock you, but this is the number one thing that you have that's considered a resource. You ready? All right, and there's two parts to it. All right, first one, life itself is a resource. You have given limited time. You have a certain amount of time. Time is a resource. That's all you begin. Your day for exit has already been determined. We don't know when that is. We don't know if it's today, tomorrow, 25 years from now, 30 years from now. We don't know. So you have this amount of time. Are we redeeming the time? Are we buying back our time and investing in the future? So time is probably the most valuable resource that you have. So over this DLP, whatever you've been doing, if you spend a majority of your time not getting the rest that you need, not taking care of yourself nutritionally, not getting the exercise that you need, and you've been spending all your time in your cave doing your video games or just worrying or just contemplating or griping and complaining because I don't have this, I can't go and do that, I didn't get to play in this, I didn't get to participate in this, and and you're wasting all your time, you're not redeeming it, you're not buying it back, you're not making yourself better, you're not investing for the future. Okay, and I know I've quoted this a lot of times. Sorry, I keep touching my face. But one of my favorite lines from the movie Gladiator is they're getting ready to go into that opening scene with the battle, and he yells out to his men and he says, "What we do in this life echoes in eternity." Boy, that's a biblical principle right there. What we do in this life matters in eternity. Are we investing in this life for eternity? And so your health, being healthy, and this is one of the reasons why my children are on me and my wife is on me to make sure I maintain my weight, which is really hard at my age. But it's so that I can be healthy to do the things that I'm capable of doing, so I can spend time with them, I can still serve, I can do the things that God wants me to do because I'm healthy and I'm capable of doing it. So I need to take care of myself. So health and life go hand in hand. The more healthy I am, the more I can do, the more I can redeem my time with. But even like I was talking to my mom today, she's 90, okay? And she doesn't know how much longer she's got. And every time we talk to her, she talks about, when the Lord's going to call her home. But she still has something very valuable that she can do right now because she has 3 children. And she has, I think it's 12 grandchildren. And then she has 5 great-grandchildren. No, 7 great-grandchildren. And so she could spend 5 minutes a day praying for each one of those. That's something of importance. That's redeeming the time. That's actually going to echo into eternity. And that's being faithful. So hopefully she's taking that time today to pray for me because I sure need it. All right, so contemplate your time. How much time you have? What are you doing with it? Hopefully you did not waste all your private time or your personal time during this DLP. You actually redeemed some of it. Okay, the second resource is your abilities. And you go, I don't have any abilities. Everybody that is listening to this video right now, even if you're writing down your notes and not listening to this video, you have abilities. And you need to take down and write those abilities. Ask other people, what are my abilities? What do you think abilities that I have? Some of you are incredibly creative. That's an ability. Some of you are really good with words. That's ability. Some of you are real witty. Some of you are super intelligent. You understand math. You understand mechanics. You understand how to fix this. Every one of us has abilities. And our responsibility is to use the resources of our abilities for the future and invest in that. So abilities. So if you don't know what they are, you need to take the time to write them down because you do. And some of you, probably during this downtime, being by yourself all the time, not using your abilities, not thinking about it very much, you've probably gone into a depression. But you know what? Even during this stay-at-home order, you can still use your abilities. You can still be successful. You can still redeem that time using your abilities to do something good. So notice we haven't mentioned money yet. Okay? Life is a resource. And you make a choice every day. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with this time that God has given me? You make a choice. Am I going to use my abilities today? In what way or another? And then the third thing is your relationships. Your relationships are a resource. So we need to make sure that we're looking at these different relationships and trying to find out how these relationships, we can benefit other people through those relationships, and are those relationships helping us redeem the time? If a relationship is taking us away from being productive or being true to God, that relationship is actually taking resources away. So that's another important thing that you need to understand. And then the last one that we're going to talk about today is your assets. Here we get to the money. Okay? Your resources are your assets. And assets are not just about the money that you make and your gross salary or your net salary, and those are different things that we're going to talk about. It can also be what you possess as far as your land, what you possess that you own outright, your health program or your health insurance that you get, life insurance policies, other types of insurance that you have on your houses and your vehicles and things of that nature. Those are all considered assets. So we're going to break this down a little bit more when we get to the financial aspect of economics, dealing with assets. But right now, these are the resources that you deal with on a daily basis. So we're going to be talking about, in our next lesson, starting tomorrow, God's circular flow of blessing and how we use these resources with some scripture, okay, to be successful. All right? So hopefully this is something that would challenge you, where you actually take time to realize I'm making choices. And I know Mr. Shrinsky just spoke in chapel the other day about this. But you need to make sure that you take time to look at this and really determine, what have I done with my time? What are my abilities? How are my relationships a resource? And are they good or are they negative in my life? And then what assets do I possess now, and which ones would I like to possess later on? So these are really, really big questions that you need to answer so you can apply proper economics in your life by making right choices. All right, so we'll pick up here next time. God bless. Have a great day.